How do we deal with a sex drive that decreases over time? So the question is, how do we deal with a sex drive that decreases over time? Okay, so I'm a marriage and relationship therapist, and this is a super popular concern for a lot of couples who have been together for a long time. Give me a heart in the comment section if you are currently married or actually in a long-term marriage. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so like I said, as a therapist, this is a really common question, a common concern. So first, what I want to say is we must get curious about the nature of our decreasing sex drive. So a few things are actually involved, things that we need to really think about. And primarily is the first thing that we need to always think about is medically. So thinking about how our health and our health changes actually impact our sex drive. Things like our hormonal fluctuations, side effects of medication, or chronic illness, an illness that we have acquired and how that impacts. Also, substance use or substance abuse, and diet. Now, many of you might be not thinking so much about diet when it comes to increase or decrease in sexual, interest, but it's absolutely plays a really big factor. Second is emotional. Thinking about how when we fall into a depressive state, and so many of us may not even identify as carrying depression, that it absolutely can be confusing. And so we need to think about and reflect on our lives in terms of depression, also anxiety, and the stress, the common stress that we so often carry and struggle with, and also grief. Okay, so this could be grieving a loss of a loved one. This could be grieving a loss of a relationship or a past relationship. This could be grief for losing out on an opportunity at work that was really important to us. So really getting tuned in and reflecting on that grief piece. Also, lack of sleep. Oh, big factor. And caretaking. So many of us, of course, when our parents get older or family members get older, or we have children with disabilities or emotional or physical struggles, challenges, and we are caretaking for people, right? This is super important too. So it can definitely change in our outlook, and also how we are impacted in our childhood. So, the baggage that we carried, our unresolved sadness and pain from our childhood that we have not quite yet handled or addressed or overcome. And we are inadvertently dispersing that in our experience in our relationships. And so in relationships, if we are not really tending to ourselves and getting real about the impact of our past, we are unknowingly, unconsciously not addressing some really important factors that can absolutely change what sex means to us and our level of interest, our lifestyle habits. Also, finances. Our financial situation can change, and absolutely the fear surrounding that can definitely impact our desire to be sexual in a way that's fulfilling for both partners, right? And also, like I said, a history of abuse, either past abuse, if we've not quite healed ourselves from that, or if we are currently in a relationship that we're not feeling loved and cared for and being treated with respect and kindness. Absolutely. The desire to be sexual and intimate is going to wane, if not fall off completely. So just some things to take a look at. And also regarding our relationship, the lack of connection with our partner. When we are carrying unresolved conflicts in the relationships, things that, we've pushed aside because it's just kind of easier to think we can move on. But what we're actually, in fact, doing is creating this arsenal of resentment And again, we're not aware of it on a daily basis. It's not in the forefront of our mind. It's something that we're storing up, and it tends to be rather unconscious. And then so it absolutely can impact the relationship in a way that we could be confused. So poor communication, definitely. Communication is the number one reason why relationships fail, is our inability to communicate effectively. And so we don't have, maybe it's not emotionally safe to talk about sex or what we need or what we want or how we're feeling or that lack of, or some of our concerns or our concerns for our partner. That's all about having those getting real conversations, right? Yeah, so we need to really be able to speak about our sexual needs and, issues regarding trust, okay? So trust is a really super big factor. And we may not even know, again, that we are carrying distrust, or there may be a just general lack of trust in the relationship that would happen over time. And then, of course, there's infidelities that have happened in our past, either in our current relationship that we're trying to manage or our former relationships, and we've never quite healed ourselves and, gotten real about the impact of the distrust from the past, the betrayals from the past that we still carry and that are in the mix in our current relationships. Okay, so next, based on the nature of this issue, it's really important to address these issues. Okay, so whether this looks like seeing a medical doctor or visiting a therapist or engaging in a personal growth workshop, it's really about strengthening your relationship. So very specific relationship focused work can really be in order to deal with the root cause. So many couples, maybe they go to couples therapy, maybe they do some individual therapy, but there's some amazing workshops out there, things that you can do to generate more closeness and connection and emotional intimacy. This is what we're all craving in our relationships. And in creating emotional safety in the relationship and being an emotionally safe partner for each other. So sometimes we don't really know what that means or how to create that. And so on the loveedcommunity.com website, we try to offer all of you just incredible resources, things to consider to deal with issues like this, spirituality and faith, and all kinds of relationship and personal growth that we need to tend to, right? Also, I have a great resource for you specifically that is actually on our website, and I'll share a little bit about that later on at the end of our program. The PDF, it is written by Esther Perel, and she has a really amazing tool called 20 Questions to Understand Your Connection to Sexuality. So like I said, we have added that to our awesome resources page on the website. And let me just share just a few of the questions from this amazing tool that Esther created. All right, so one of the questions is, what are the dominant messages that you grew up with regarding men and women? Or when you were younger, boys and girls, and then men and women, this whole gender identity, what was going on in your family? What were the beliefs, were women to stay at home and raise children and men were supposed to provide, and, along those lines. Also, what is a challenge for you sexually? What an amazing question, right? Like just putting it right out there. And being transparent with our partner. What barriers would you like to cross? Ooh, right? Yeah, like being able to communicate about these things. And so another one is, how do you like to be touched? It's so important to ask these questions. They sometimes seem really like simple, but it's making a lot of assumptions when you really don't get around to asking these direct questions. Like, how do you want to be touched? Also, another question is, when you are sexually bored, what do you do to change that? How cool is that, right? Yeah, so really getting real about important questions.